Okay, first up is Christie, and yeah, this looks really good. Um, I like the added detail, like all of these bolts on the sides and back. Everything's looking pretty good. Um, the one thing I noticed, I like that you've added this here. However, I can see that it's kind of going back in and intersecting the arm, and I think you want it consistently out the whole time. So um, and you have this polyunite on here, so I'm going to do mesh separate, and that should break it down into its component parts. It did. And now let's just look at this in wireframe, and I can just maybe center the pivot, modify center pivot, and eyeball this here. And see how that looks now. Okay, and that's a little better. And if so now it's going out all the way around. I think you need to kind of repeat for each of these because they're all a little bit different. So just 4 for wireframe. And again, I'll center pivot. And that might need to be scaled out a little bit. Maybe something like that. Anyways, and just continue, all the way around. I might scale this one out too. I like using this because it's going to scale, both the Y and the Z at the same time without doing the X. Just going to make that a little bigger too. And anyways, just go around, and repeat for the rest of these. You can see they're not all lined up quite right. And then if you want, you can unite it and mirror it over to the other side. Yeah, besides that, this all looks good. One added detail is a little kind of hinged panel on the leg you could add. This one has that issue where you bevel the whole thing rather than just the edges needed. And I'm just going to duplicate this real quick and move this over so we can compare the two. Actually, let's move it up just so we can compare the two after the fact, and you'll see what I mean. So to get rid of this bevel, there's a little trick. I'm going to use the attribute editor and click on the bevel, hit select, and then hit the delete key. And you can see that gets rid of the bevel. Oh, that's interesting. It's like you already have a bevel and then you beveled it again. Because there's this bevel here, but I don't have that in the history, so there's not a really easy way to get rid of that, unfortunately. But that's why you've got all these little extra funny edges and stuff. So, and I'm assuming this is the same. So let's just create another cylinder, and if I hold down E and then click here, I get this marking menu, and I can go to discrete rotate, and that'll kind of do every 15 degrees, snap it to every 15 degrees. And then I'm going to just click in the middle here, hold down V to snap it there, and then scale this down. Something like that. Anyway, the point of all of this was to say you just want to right mouse click, go to edge, double click on this edge, and then shift right mouse click, bevel edge, which I think you did to get that one, but then we want to adjust the fraction, I don't know, something like this, and increase the segments. And so do you see the difference between, for example, this one, it's all, and then this one, where you see we've got all these extra edges, like it turned each one of these kind of spokes into 3, and each one of these into 3, and that does some funny things to the shape. See how it looks sort of, the edge looks kind of faceted, and this one looks smooth. So in this case, there's some times where you can just pick a whole object. If every edge on the object you want to bevel, you can bevel, but most of the time you don't want to do that. So, yeah, overall this is looking really good. You did a very good job. Can I pause? Next up is Tegan, and yeah, this looks really good. I think you've got all the different surfaces. If you wanted to, you could bevel these like so. Just double click there, shift right mouse click, bevel edge, decrease the fraction. Maybe add a segment or so. And those might look a little nicer. Also this one. So you want to do this and that and this and this and this. Basically you don't want to do any of those inside edges, but we do want to do all these kind of corner ones. And these and these. Oh, and these. Okay. That looks good. Shift right mouse click, bevel edge. Hold down the control key, decrease the fraction. Increase the segments. Okay. That's a little better. And obviously all the rest of these. And that looks good, and that looks good. I might have done a few more divisions on that. You can do it after the fact if you kept your history here. Where's the... yeah, right here. So you've got 2 segments. I can go to, let's say, 4 or something like that, and you can see that it's just a little nicer roundedness there. And these are looking good. Yeah, looks good all the way around. I would just say, looks like you named everything, which is great. If you wanted to look back at some reference images and add even more detail that's not covered in the module, that'd be great. But this looks really good. Nice work. Okay, this is Griffin, and yeah, this is looking really good. Everything seems to be beveled and built really nicely. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Oh, looks like you've added these, which is good. Oh, something got accidentally keyframed here, I think, which isn't a big deal. If you ever accidentally keyframe stuff and you want to delete all the keyframes from the scene, you can do Edit, Delete All by Type, Channels, and that'll get rid of that there. It's just if you hit S, S is the hotkey for setting a keyframe. But all these surfaces are looking good. You even added these little hinges, which is nice. And these seams here, which look good. Got little bevels on those. So yeah, this looks really good. There's some, additional little bolts and details you could add in the back if you want, but this looks really good. Oh, it looks like you've got this little guy here. That's an interesting little detail. So yeah, I think this is a great job. Let's see how looks like you've named everything neatly. Yeah, I really don't have much to change on this. Really good work. Next up is Martin, and I just wanted to point out on this that just the file name here make sure you name it with your name, and I think there's instructions on here for that. Yeah, usually do like last name, first name, and then the assignment number, because otherwise you can imagine if I got a bunch of files all named robot something, it would be kind of confusing to sort out which one's which. So yeah, this is looking good. I would say that maybe a little more cube shaped here, so sort of pulling these. Whoops. Oh, that's interesting. What's going on back here? Sorry, I've got some kind of transform constraint on. Okay, I turned that off. Something's gone wrong there. Very, very wrong. I'm not exactly sure how or when that happened. Polycube, polybevel. There's two bevels here. I wonder if it's one of the bevels. Something went wrong with that. I'm going to try deleting one. Sometimes it goes a little berserk if you try deleting these things. Well, let's just see what happens. I'm going to select this and then hit delete. Okay. Oh yeah, and then this is going a little bit funny. Let's delete the other one too. Well, yeah, something went funny with your bevels. So anyway, I guess what I would say is I would move this back anyway. Why do I keep getting that? I'm holding down W and going to transform constraints and turning that off because it's somehow I'm doing this. So I would do it make this whole thing a little bit more cube shaped, and then now shift right mouse click. Whoops. Oh yeah, we'll have to since I'm doing the whole object. If I select all the edges, I can do the shift right mouse click thing, shift right mouse click bevel edge, and then adjust the fraction, holding down the control key, across the number of segments, and then yeah, this one's okay. It's just I think that again you're going to want the whole thing to be a little bit more cube shaped, because right now it's a bit flat. And yeah, this I would argue could kind of be a little wider as well. And of course you'd have to reposition this stuff, recenter all this other stuff once you've adjusted that size. This is looking pretty good. I mean, this edge right here didn't need to be beveled, nor did all of these. So it looks like you just selected the whole object and beveled it, and what's better to do is select just the edges that need to be beveled, because then you don't get all these extra sets of 3 there. And what else? You could bevel these guys, so like so, and then just the same thing, drag that, make that smaller, increase the segments there, something like that. So you could do that for both of those. This one, it looks like you've got a bevel on, but you don't have probably enough divisions, segments, or whatever. Ooh. Oh, there's more than one bevel here. That's not so great. So let's get rid of this one. And yeah, I think you might have missed some edges on this. So I would have, had this one in the original and that one in the original bevel and these guys. So I would select this and again hit delete and then just do your selection again, this and that and this and that and this, and just shift double clicking here and that, and probably this and this, and maybe these inside edges, maybe not. That should be good. Let's just check it. Shift right mouse click bevel edge. Hold down control, decrease that a little bit, increase the segment some. That looks pretty good to me. Yeah, something like that. And then you got those. You didn't have those quite done correctly before. And then what else? Looks good. Yeah. So yeah, just a few little fixes. Obviously recenter that if in the position of the arms and stuff. Um, Looks like you've done a pretty good job of naming everything. So yeah, mostly looks good. A few little fixes could improve it a little bit, but generally good work. And this is Donald, and yeah, it's looking pretty good. I like how you did the claw hands, even though it's a little different. I might have included these edges around here in that bevel as well, but it looks all right as it is, I think. Actually, I kind of like how you have this kind of wider and getting narrower there. It looks kind of good, even if it's a little different from some of the other ones. And I think you've added this surface too, which again seems like a nice touch. For this one, you don't want to, you have the whole object that you've beveled and not just the selected edges, and it gives it that kind of like a little bit of that faceted look along these curved things. So I would get rid of that if you still can, and looks like we don't have the history of that bevel, so unfortunately there's no easy way then to step it back unless you have another saved version of it to kind of get rid of all those extra edges. Once you delete the history, it's yeah, there's not really a way to get it back. So it's either you have an earlier, and it's just doing some funny things. Like if you look closely at the bottom here, these this little area is looking a little kind of chunky and messed up there, a little almost sort of like dented or something. So the problem was, instead of selecting just the edges to bevel, you pick the whole object, and so that caused a few issues. But besides that, this is looking really good. Oh yeah, it's got a little bevel on it. Something looks a little strange with those corners. I'm not sure. I guess it's fine. It's just I'm surprised there's those edges there. That doesn't look normal, but it's a little odd. But anyway, I'm not exactly. But it looks okay anyway, so it's not a big deal. Yeah. So besides those couple little things, this looks really good. Okay, this is Cody, and yeah, this is looking pretty good. I might say this could be a little wider. These surfaces are all looking pretty good. I feel like this goes a little low on the face. Maybe that could come up. Actually, the face is looking a little squat somehow to me. I'm not sure, like it could be just a touch taller. But the surfaces all look built well. It looks like you beveled this whole object rather than just the select edges, so you have all these extra, if you pick just the edges necessary, you wouldn't have all these extra edges on each of those areas where they're not needed. But it looks okay, so it's not too big of a deal. These can be beveled as well, these edges right here. I'm just doing that shift right mouse click. So that looks a little better, I think, with a little bevel on it. This looks good. Good. And yeah, it looks like you did a pretty good job of naming the stuff. So yeah, nice work. Okay, next up is Chang, and the first thing I've noticed is he's lying on his back, and I'm wondering if you just modeled it like this, or if somehow you have your Maya set to where, normally Y is up. Maybe you have it set where Z is up. You can see the little Y pointing up here. I don't know, but let's just kind of leave it at that. But yeah, I mean, there's a few things on here that makes me think you're not really following the videos in the module and just kind of going off on your own and do it. And this the point, especially on these earlier modules, is that actually follow the instructions of the video of the module. So I'd encourage you to do that. So for example, this is looking, kind of funny, and so and a little uneven and stuff, and so you'd want to bevel this. And again, this has some weird surfaces going on there. And again, that's not beveled either, and those aren't quite working out that well. And this has been beveled, and this one, yeah, that's been smooth. And again, you're going to want to bevel that one. So I think the main thing is, I think you need to watch the videos. It doesn't look like you're watching the videos, or if you are watching the videos, you're not following them. It just looks like you kind of done everything as cubes, and then press the 3 button. And then this one's got, see, this has got some pretty crazy, overlapping geometry here. And it looks like you've done this again in some way that's a lot different from how it was demonstrated. So, yeah, I would just say, try to follow along, because the oh yeah, and this is all done again very differently than demonstrated. So the idea, hopefully, is that all of the stuff done in the modules is each kind of designed to, give you a set of tools and teach you certain lessons along the way. Also, I've noticed you haven't named or organized any of your objects either. So I think, yeah, and then you just haven't done the beveling. It looks like you've beveled here, maybe? No, it looks like you've done that differently somehow. You're not using bevel. So just so you know, like, yeah, and then actually, also the way you've done this, I don't know why there's so many extra edges on here, because that's going to interfere with the bevel when you do it. So, but these edges you've added don't really, um, oh, unless you've put those in to kind of try and hold the shape when you do the smooth tool. Yeah, it looks like that's what you've done. But what I would do is shift right mouse click, delete edge, double click, shift right mouse click, delete edge, and just repeat that for all these extra unnecessary edges. And then in this case, a lot of times you'll want to select like all the, the edges of the surface that you want to bevel, and then shift right mouse click, bevel edge, and then hold down the control key while you adjust the fraction to get fine control of that, decide how big you want, and then increase the number of segments there. And so that's how we're doing that in this module, to get a nice looking shape like that we have some good control over. So that's how we're going about it. And it looks like you've done it in a slightly more, complicated way here. So, because really, like, this one just needs to be a cube with a bevel on it, but you've done all these different steps here, so you can kind of see how that might be better. So please do watch the videos and follow the module, and check to see, I don't know if you just built it flat from the top, or if you have your Maya set to the Y up or Z up. I'm not exactly sure where that preference is. I can't remember. Oh, up axis Y or Z. So I'm guessing maybe that you have it set to Z. He's upside down then. So I don't know. I don't know how we ended up flat on his back like that. Maybe you just built him that way. So either way, you'd want it, feet on the ground and facing up. And again, just, yeah, please do try and follow those videos in the module, and get your stuff named and organized. Okay, this is Henri, and yeah, this is looking really good. I love all the extra detail, all these little bolts and these little meters on the back look really cool. I would probably bevel these edges too, like this one, this one. Oh, hey. Why is that not going all the way around? Ooh. What's going on here? There's some extra funny little... Something's gone a little awry with the surface here. Oh, there's no history on it. That makes it a little difficult. Yeah, something went a little wacky there. Yeah, see how these are doubled up? It kind of looks like you sort of did an extrude without um, moving it afterwards. Sometimes you can fix that by doing a modify, where is that cleanup thing? Hold on a sec. Sorry, that's mesh cleanup, and I usually choose, so hold on, let's just make it bigger. Lamina faces, non-manifold geometry, faces with zero geometry area, and then hit cleanup, and sometimes that'll get rid of those issues. Let's see. Yeah, most of them, except for this one here, that remains. Just get a little closer in here. We can take this out. What's that? Yeah, that looks normal now. Okay, now hopefully I can pick this edge. Oop, yes, and this one, and then shift right mouse click bevel, and why isn't it showing my, I don't know why it's not. Anyway, I'll adjust it here. Something like that. You know, that looks a little better. Anyways, so you can bevel those edges. And what else? Oh yeah, you've got some interesting stuff going on here. I like that. This is looking pretty good. Looks good. You know, I don't like how this is not round shape, so I would keep these, at least the, oops. What is that? We can leave the X alone, but the Y and Z should be the same, so let's try making both of these 0.4, for example. You know, I think that should be, maybe these are both like, let's say 0.375. I don't think they should be kind of disproportionate like they are. I think they should be round, because it's supposed to be like a rotating joint, and I think the rotating joints would be perfectly round. So I don't think the elongated thing works well for that. This looks good, although something went a little unusual here. You shouldn't have to do these multiple bevels. It really should just be one bevel, because you're getting some, see this kind of funniness over here. It doesn't look that bad really, but you can tell that there's something odd going on with the surface there. So what I would tend to do is go back and just take these out. So so take out this one first, select, and then delete, and then take out this one, select, delete, and then this one last, select, delete, and then you're back to this shape. Oh yeah, there is something, I guess that was there. Well, I don't see any other history. I don't know why those shapes there, but anyway, and then go through and you know, pick all the, yeah, it's not picking along the top here. Oh, because of this. Yeah, look, this kind of looks like there's some extrude there, but I don't see any extrude in the history. But it looks, I mean, I think normally you wouldn't have that. Maybe the history got deleted. So anyway, yeah, you'd have to go through and just carefully select all these edges. That could mess up your, whoops, your bevel. I don't think it will. I think it'll be fine. No, yeah, see, it doesn't want to select the whole edge by double clicking. But yeah, just make sure you get all the appropriate edges in one big selection at once. And then, yeah, these I can double click. Okay, so I think I've got them all. And then shift right mouse click bevel edge. And then, adjust these and this. Yeah, and that looks a little cleaner now. And you don't have some of those odd surfaces happening. Yeah, but I love all the extra detail. Really good stuff going on. Ooh, look at this little extra kind of sort of latch thing here. That's really nice. And this, there's a lot of nice touches that you've done to this. I think you've done a really good job. So yeah, great work and great, applying all that extra reference. And I think just a few little things you could clean up in there, but mostly that looks great. Next up is Malcolm, and yeah, looking good. Maybe the this looks a little too rounded for me. Just wondering what happened with the. Oh yeah, you just did a bevel with a lot of divisions there. I guess I just maybe would have done a much smaller bevel on this. And not one that kind of changed. Oh, I didn't do the inside surface, but yeah, you get the idea. Just something more like that, where it's just a little bit, rounded edges rather than something that rounds that whole top of that. And these are all looking good. That looks good, 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 good. I would say that this is much too flat. I would, select those verts and, make this more of a cube shape, and then same with this. And the reason I don't scale the whole thing up, like if I take this and I scale it like this, it kind of screws up the shape of the bevel. So instead I select these vertices and just move them back, and it kind of maintains the consistent shape of that. And then, accordingly, then I have to go and kind of move the arm and stuff. I think maybe the size of these cylinders compared to the size of this could be a little closer. That looks a little thin compared to that, but that's all right. It's not a big deal. That's looking a little like it's poking out a bit much. I might scale these a little flatter, a little rounder, so they're not poking out quite as much, and they appear more round and less kind of angular. Yeah, and that almost looks like a torus the way you've done it, and I don't think we want all that so rounded. So anyways, I already showed that. But yeah, that looks good. I think. Where are all the? Oh, these are these bolts. Yeah. Okay. And then again, this one too could probably scale out a little bit. And oh, looks like you. Oops. What did you run on here that made it? I don't know that we needed this bevel, did we? I think it looks, yeah, if I just had 3 for smooth, I think it looks okay like that. Maybe scale it up a little bit. Yeah, and of course adjust the position of the ears and the arms to recenter them, and the legs and stuff after you've spread those out. So yeah, mostly this looks good. I think there's a few little tweaks. I think maybe this could be, maybe this is sticking out a little bit too far, from the head. Maybe that could be pushed in a bit. All these things. Seems to be extending out a bit too much. Yeah, but mostly very good. Maybe just a few little tweaks. Okay, this is Elias, and I think there's some little proportion issues. I think these kind of things are way too thin. I think most of the stuff is built okay, but I think this really needs to be pulled out quite a bit, and this one as well. And then of course you'd accordingly have to get this. Let's see, is that? Oh yeah, that's convenient. I can move these back together. I think this should be not scaled disproportionately like it is, where the y and z should be the same. So, you know, let's say they're both 0.385, for example. So that's round. And these look a bit small too. I would take this and, you know, at least pull out the front, something like that. You know, obviously do it on both sides. That's looking good. Good. That looks good. This, I might maybe do another division or two, another segment, something like that. Whoops. Okay, and you didn't need to do the whole object. You could just do these edges, so you don't need all those extra edges on each of these. So it'd be better to have just selected the edges that needed it. This is also a bit, whoops, I mean to do that, a bit thin, so I would get that to be kind of fatter and then recenter that at the top. And then the ears as well. Oops. You know, recenter those. Okay. And then maybe move these legs back. You know, somewhere on there. So yeah, so I think it's mostly good. I just think there's a few little tweaks that need to be done to improve it. But yeah, generally it's looking pretty good. It looks like you've organized this nicely into groups and named everything, and so that's good. Next up is Elina, and yeah, this looks really good. I think the proportions on this are looking right. I think looks like this stuff is built well. Again, you could just do the edges needed on this. You don't have to do the whole object. This looks like it went berserk. I don't think there was any reason to smooth this. I would get rid of those smooths. Get rid of this one. No. Yeah, this one first. Select, delete, and then again. Oh, there's an extrude on there? Select, delete, and yeah, if you just hit 3, it'll appear smooth. So there was no reason to add all that extra geometry. That went a little. It's actually pretty interesting, but yeah, that went a little nuts. So you just need a regular old sphere for that. You don't have to do any extra smoothing or anything like that. Yeah, and here again, you didn't just pick the surface edges needed. You did a whole bunch of extra edges. It looks like you probably just picked the whole object and beveled the whole thing rather than the select edges needed. I like this extra detail. That's good. And that looks good. Good. Okay. Yeah. Maybe a little longer feet. Yeah, maybe pull it up. You know, like select the vertices and you can move that forward a little bit. Maybe a bit longer, but yeah. Mostly this looks really good. Good work. Oh, something went a little funny on that. Looks like you've got a couple smooths on there. I'm not sure we need it. I mean, it's okay. It just looks a little unusual, but I think maybe you scaled in a edge I don't usually scale in or something. I'm not sure. And maybe actually this could be a little smaller. I might grab this guy and just get a little smaller. But I think that works all right. Okay. Yeah, nice work. Okay, this is Kobe, and yeah, again, looking good. I would say this is too big. I would get these about even size with that one. I like the extra detail of the sort of seam there. That looks good. This looks good. Maybe another segment or two in here. You didn't have to pick the whole object here. You could just do the edges necessary to bevel. Whoops. And same with this one. Looks like there's, a whole bunch of extra edges. So you just need to pick the edges that need to be beveled rather than the whole object. In that case, and maybe another segment here too, just because it's kind of a bigger bevel. This one looks good. And these look good. So yeah, I think that we kind of rounded this front more than you did. So is it this one? Yeah, I think you want that a little bigger. Maybe this one's a little smaller. Something more like that. See the difference? I think I can go even further with that one. Maybe a little less on this one. So it's a shape a little bit more like that than like this. This one's more like a rounded cube. That one has the front a bit more rounded in the back. And it could probably, the whole thing could be a bit longer and flatter, I think. But yeah, mostly this is looking really good. I think that scale looks a bit off to me, but yeah, generally this looks about right. Next up is Angela, and yeah, looking good. Looks you've named everything and organized it. That looks good. Good. Maybe this head could be. Oh no, that looks good from the side. I might try to center these ears a little bit better. Maybe down a bit too. And again, on this one, you don't need to bevel these inside edges, just the outside ones. So you could just do a more selective set of things to bevel. Here, and again, yeah, and you particularly notice the issue caused here because I put those little dents in there because the whole object was beveled rather than just the select edges. Unfortunately, the history is not there anymore, so there's not a good way to kind of take that back unless you have a previously saved version that we could go back to. But these all look good. Maybe these could be, those are looking to be kind of sticking out a little bit. I might scale some of these down a little bit. Yeah, but yeah, mostly it's looking really good. Nice work. Okay, this is Melissa, and yeah, it looks like you've added some interesting details like these edges here, the seam going along the side, and this sort of sloping thing here. This looks a little uneven where you see this kind of one in the middle is much more narrow than the other ones, and these side ones got a little thinner. So I think, not exactly sure how you built that, but maybe I think if you followed the one in the module, it might have turned out a little more even. And these you've done differently as well, but I think that's a little bit more of just kind of a sphere shape in there, and then maybe you could add one extra little loop, but they look interesting anyway. This is also different from the module too, because I think, yeah, you started with maybe with a cylinder instead. I'm not sure, but that looks a bit different. And yeah, the arm's pretty cool. What you've done? Did you combine some stuff? Nope. Is that all one continuous surface? There's a lot. Oh, I see. There's a lot going on there. That would be tricky to get that to move just the way everything's kind of. I think that the way that kind of goes in there is a little bit different from the design if you look at it. And then there's some just sort of surface issues here. Oops. Like that's getting a little some interpenetration of some of the faces. So I think that didn't quite work out the way this arm connects to that. I mean, on this side actually it does look okay, whereas on that side the way that kind of presses in and comes out didn't come out as well. I'm not sure exactly how you went about that. And also these, I think either it should be sort of just a kind of a pipe shape or more of a claw shape, but I don't think I don't think it's sort of filled in the middle like that. I do like these latches on the side. And I think the front of these is going to be a lot more rounded. So it looks like you used a lot of different techniques. That got a little dense here, and it looks like rather than carefully beveling the edges, it looks like you've smoothed it, if I'm not mistaken. I can't tell because the history is deleted, but and then this shape kind of didn't get round. It's got a weird bump on it. So I think for some of this stuff, I think the thing to do with these modules is if you follow along with the module first to get the basics down and then build on from there. But it looks like you sort of went your own direction with some of the stuff. And in some cases, there's some cool things that you've done, but in others, I think it, like for example, with some of the stuff that's happened on the arm or the feet not being rounded in the front, or a few other little things that's kind of hasn't helped. So yeah, I think just make sure you get all the basics in first, and then augment from there, rather than I think going off in your own direction first, which it seems like you've done. But overall, it's looking pretty good. So yeah, nice work. Okay, this is Megan, and yeah, this looks good. Um, yeah, these surfaces are all looking right. Maybe maybe would have gone with slightly tighter. I'm just going to use the attribute editor here for this. Yeah, and then maybe not quite so big of one there. But yeah, I mean, this all looks pretty good, clean work. I think I would go maybe a little shorter and a little wider on that thing on top of his head. But yeah, this is a good, clean model. You got stuff named and organized, so whoops. Yeah, I think this is good work. I think if you wanted to, you could just look up extra detail to add based on the images that go beyond the module. But I think you've done, you followed everything that was covered very well. Next up is Dwi, and there's a bit of an issue with this, which is when you saved it, you named it with a .1, and see how when you put that extension on there, it messes it up, and it's like doesn't recognize as a mile file. So I'm going to delete that and ask me if I wanted to use that and change that to MA, and now I can open up in Maya. So just be careful about your file naming extensions. Yeah, I think this looks alright. It doesn't look like you've finished the top thing, so I would check the module for that. These are a bit skinny, so I would probably, and it looks like you failed to bevel the top. Also, it looks like I'm just gonna isolate this. It looks like you've been doing some Boolean stuff, which gets you these weird edges in here, which could cause some issues. And it looks like you didn't build this the same way, and you didn't bevel that. And yeah, it looks like you've kind of gone off in your own direction with a lot of these things and not followed the module So what I would say is sort of, and this isn't beveled on top, and so what I would, and nothing's named, or not nothing's named, a lot of it's not named and organized. So I guess what I would say is, stuff like that doesn't look right, or that, and then these are sort of squished. You want those to be proportional. And then this hasn't been done where you've got the ridges and stuff, and that's not beveled correctly. So I would say kind of take a step back, and you should watch the videos and follow along with the videos that are included, and um, at least start by modeling it the way I show, and then you can always kind of build on from there. But it looks like you went either just didn't finish it or sort of went off in your own direction with some of this stuff. So I would kind of take a step back and watch those videos and get those things fixed up first um, before moving on. But it looks like you've got a lot of it built. I just think, you know, missing the edges here. This isn't beveled. That's been squished. Some proportion issues with the arm. This hasn't been beveled. This isn't built correctly. So a lot of little things to fix on this one.